we'll discuss few more types of flow measurement, because we have told that the flow measurement has different principles they use it. So just I will get you acquainted. I cannot discuss all of them, only few important things I will be discussing there. Next is a vortex type flow meter. I will just give you the principle and discuss it. You must have seen what is a vortex there. You must have seen in your rainy days or like this, some stream is flowing, maybe due to heavy rains and etc. And the water is passing through it. And in between, in the air there is some obstruction there. So if the obstruction is there, you just put a small stick, an obstruction or like this, there would be some vortex formation. That is obviously, you must have seen all of it. In any passing liquid, if you obstruct at any point something there, then there would be some vortex formation. So vortex shedding is basically, call it a vortex shedding, is that when a blunt object is placed in the flow path, so vortex is formed. So what is it? It would be something like this. So suppose a pipe or anywhere like this. It could be open channel, it could be closed channel, anything there. So suppose this is a flow rate, this is a velocity is the flow there, and we have a blunt object placed over here, and this d is the width of the blunt object. So this is your blunt object. Then what will happen is that we will see it immediately that there would be some vortex formed like this after that. Of course, after some distance, it will again weather out, but definitely distinct vortices are formed like this. And interestingly, if the flow is turbulent, that is, Reynolds number is greater than 10 to the power 4, the frequency of vortex formation is given by F is equal to NST divided by D into V there, where D is the width of the blunt object, V is the velocity of fluid, and NST is a constant. This is called a Strouhal number. Strouhal number. So basically, it came from fluid dynamics area, that this frequency of vortex, the local turbulence or like this, is proportional to the velocity of the flow. Yeah. So naturally, you measure the frequency, how many in 1 second, how many vortices are found. You can, with your eye also, we can estimate this one, but better to use some instrument or like this there. So what we do is that we can use some sort of transmitter and a receiver there. So what we can use, the different techniques we can use for measurement. One is we can methods of measurement, we can say using thermal detectors. What do you mean? Thermal detectors means basically you can have a small heater that will heat the locally the liquid at this point, and that heat would be transmitted. If I put a receiver, that means a thermocouple or a temperature sensor here at this point. So this heat, actually what will happen there with the vortex formation like this, there would be a modulation of the temperature received here. So if it is due to that point, it continuous heating, there would be some temperature constant there. But if there is a vortex, there would be always some periodic change of that one, and that will cause you that we can do it. That we can measure the frequency there. Next is that using piezoelectric transducers. Piezoelectric transducers, we will consider it afterwards. We know that these are the piezoelectric materials there. They are, if we apply force or pressure, this will generate electricity. Or if we apply voltage, it will be basically compress or expand like this. Its dimension will change. So it's basically both. It can act as a sensor as well as an actuator. So here we can have a transmitter, piezoelectric transmitter, that is basically an actuator that will be sending some wave here uh, at this point, ultrasonic wave here, and there is a receiver, and that will receive that ultrasonic wave or some pulse at this point, and then what we can do is that the modulation of that here we can get it like this. So this when, or you can see some other techniques are also there. So in this process, we can using optical method also. It is not only applicable for the closed pipe flow rate, but also for the open channels. Say suppose a river is going on, flowing, small river, right? What is the flow rate? From a distance, you can estimate if we put some sort of obstruction and use this technique. So this is one of them, but more popular and more important type of flow meter is a, before I name them, I would be first telling you that, say suppose there is a closed pipeline. There is a closed pipeline and some flow is passing through it. But I suspect there is a partial choking of the pipeline there. So flow is not going to that much there. I want to measure, that means this is your pipeline and I want to measure existing pipeline, so I cannot, and some water is flowing, and we cannot, some liquid is flowing, and we cannot really open it up and do it from outside. We'll have to measure the flow rate. So suppose this is your pipeline, this is some velocity of looking, and it is, we cannot, it's a big pipeline and like this, and there are many consumers utilizing this water for their use. So you cannot block it, but we wanted to see whether there is a partial choking or not, or whether the flow rate is as desired and we thought of it. What to do? Can you suggest? Or I just wanted to tell you another thing there. Uh, say suppose our, often you see the blood report of some year there. So many medical parameters are there. But what is your blood flow through your artery? That is important to decide whether there is a blockage or not. So how would you measure the blood flow rate? Can you suggest? Do you have any idea? Anybody? So we considered this one, that we call it a non-intrusive measurement.
Sir, I have observed that in the pulse oximeter there is some percentage of blood which is flowing, which is shown. So it is also a type of non-intrusive measurement only. No?
There are many, but I am telling, I want the what is the blood flow rate, because often you see there is a blockage. We look for this artery and like this, and then we go for it. But sometimes it is also required from outside, you measure what is the blood flow rate. Non-intrusive is a very important one, because many of the cases you are not allowed to insert any instrument inside. From outside itself, you will have to do it. So what I will just give you two examples of flow measurement. One is a blood flow measurement, another is that what is your behavior in a pipeline and area. Both of them, this is a, for both the cases, naturally you can see that it is more difficult here there, and as a result the cost is also more. But if we use ultrasonic flow meter, it can be very nicely measured there. So you use ultrasound, basically, as I told, ultrasound means the sound generated which is above the sonic range, maybe 20 kilohertz or 1 megahertz or like this there, and this is often generated by piezoelectric crystals or like this there, and these piezoelectric crystals can also work as a receiver or a sensor there. These ultrasonic flow meters are of two types. One is called the what we can a transit time flow meter. Another is Doppler shift flow meter. Doppler, I think it is AR. Two types of flow meters are used for this one. One is a transit time flow meter. It is normally used for clear liquid, and here it is for liquid with suspended particles. So it is, one is for clear liquid, One is that if the liquid is having suspended particles there. Okay. First of all, so naturally, it is a non-intrusive ultrasonic flow meter. Is basically a it is not penetrating into it. It is measured from outside. Another thing is that it can be used in an existing pipeline or like this here. So first we will consider with a transit time type. This flow meter considerable portion is I have taught from Bentley's book. We have dealt it very nicely. But there are many mechanical measurements books or normally there you can get those things here. What is a transit time flow meter? So this is your velocity V and we place transducer A and transducer B. So basically, as I told that why you use transducer name instead of sensor, because it could be used as a generator of ultrasound or it could be used as a receiver of the ultrasound. Basically, as I told, they are piezoelectric crystals. So piezoelectric crystals, you know the things, but more details will be taught in instrumentation devices too. So these are the two. So basically, both of them, A and B, can act as a transmitter mode or can act as a receiver mode. And we have placed two transducers A and B at two different locations of the pipeline and making an angle theta in it there. Okay. So basically, you can say these are mostly piezoelectric. So how the piezoelectric ultrasound is generated and etc. All the things will be detailed in the next course. Now, first of all, we can have it in this way. Stage 1. A acts as transmitter. B as receiver. Basically, what we can say is that I send a pulse here, and after certain time, it will be receiving that pulse there. So it is going there and it is receiving here, like this there. So A is a transmitter and B is a receiver, and I just try to measure the time. So there is a clock, very sophisticated clock, and this clock used to measure how much time is required to drive this pulse, pulse to travel from this point to this point. Definitely, you know that this will be dependent upon the velocity v there. And I consider this is a diameter of the pipeline d there. So, what we call it a TAB is that means here how much the time taken for that pulse to travel from A to B there. So TAB is basically, if I call it L, that is the length L. And what is the velocity? You know the velocity is basically C is the velocity of sound So in that case, what will be there? It is c plus v cos theta. Okay, because you see the velocity of the velocity of sound, and here is the velocity of the liquid or fluid. It is assisting that one, so it is c plus v cos theta. Similarly, what we have a stage 2 is where B acts as transmitter and A acts as receiver. In that case, we send another pulse from here and we receive the pulse at this point here. And very precise clock I have made it. And what is the TBA? What it would be? In this case, this is acting against the velocity. If there is a component which is against the velocity there. So what we can say, it is L divided by C minus V cos theta. So the velocity is more there. Okay. So what we can say is that delta T is equal to TAB minus TBA is equal to L divided by C plus V cos theta minus, C T, rather I will say it, this is more, so I will say TBA minus TAB, because this is taking more time, and so it is C minus V cos theta divided by L divided by C plus V cos theta. If it is, we can say it is equal to C square minus V square cos square theta, and here it is L into, here it is, what is that? It would be 2V cosine theta. Is it okay? Please check it. This L into 2V cosine theta. And we can say, what is L? What we can say, it is L. So d by L, yeah, is equal to sine theta. D by L is equal to your sine theta there. Is it? So if it is so, then it is, instead of L, I can say d by sine theta into 2V cosine theta divided by C square minus V square cos square theta. And we know that this C square is much higher than V square cos square theta, because C for water, it is approximately 1500 meter per second. It is quite high, whereas we are trying to measure 1 or 2 or 10 meter per second or like this. So I can do the safely some approximation. So here we can say it is equal to, so it is 2d into cot theta divided by v square into, c square into velocity v. So here it is 2d cot theta in divided by c square into velocity v, and this is proportional to the v there. So we can get a good expression. So measure the time, send a pulse from here to here, and see the time, send a pulse from here to here, see the time, find out the difference, and this difference is approximately proportional to the velocity v there. So we need not break open the pipe, any existing pipeline, I can do the things there. Definitely the cost is quite more there. Okay, and this is used for clear liquid. But the reason behind the more cost is there. The number one, we need to use ultrasonic transducers, basically piezoelectric transducers and generator. That circuit is also complicated. Another thing is that we will have to measure delta T very minutely, very accurately, because this is important, because if you will be surprised to see that what is the level of delta T we required. If D is equal to 0.1 centimeter, theta is equal to 45 degree, V is equal to 1 meter per second, then C is equal to 1500 meter per second. Then in that case, delta T, what is required is 89 nanosecond, mind it. 89, we require an electronic instrument which is able to detect the time difference which is in the range of, and with a resolution, definitely it should be in nanosecond level resolution and accuracy, and it's 89 nanosecond. So that is a there. So fast count, very fast counting is required, and we require a very elaborate setup. We can think of how to measure this fast counting. It is very A there. We can increase the time a little bit if we make theta smaller, so that it will take more time to pass for it. But the problem is that the signal will be attenuated as it travels along more into it. So naturally, that is also another problem there. But this is definitely a big problem for measuring a time difference in the range of 89 nanosecond, or like this there. Okay. Next we go for the other type of flow meter. That is a Doppler flow meter. So this Doppler shift flow meter is another type of flow meter where we can measure from a distance using some non-intrusive technique. But you must be knowing that principle of measurement using the Doppler shift, because we know that how other stars are moving away from us, we can measure, we can find out and guess by measuring the Doppler shift. That means a red light is what is called a red shift there. Some light they are emitting, the wavelength will change. That is, the frequency received here will change from there if that is dependent upon the velocity of it there. So, what in a nutshell we can say, that if it is a floating object, we can say, this floating object is nothing but, say, suppose it could be a very minute floating object. Basically, you can see our white blood cell, red blood cell of this one, if we want to measure the velocity of the ATN. So these are the floating objects there. And say suppose there is a velocity, it is moving at a velocity v there. And here we also put some transmitter and a receiver here. And I pass some ultrasonic wave in a particular direction, and if there is a some small floating particle there, it could be useful for not for clear one, but those for using slurries and etc., or some floating object, as I told, white blood cell, red blood cell, and like this here. So the point is that the it will be get reflected, and say suppose it is received by another receiver, both of them ultrasonic receiver are there, and this angle I call it, say suppose theta, and this angle I call it theta there. But the point is that the frequency it is transmitting and the in phi e and this frequency I am receiving, they would be different, because the same way, same principle of Doppler shift there, because it is moving there and there is a difference between Fi and Fi like this there. So due to Doppler effect, so frequency of transmission is Fi, frequency of receipt is Fr there. So what we can say, due to Doppler effect, if d is equal to Fr minus Fi, that is equal to minus of 2v cosine theta divided by c into Fi. So we can see that this frequency difference is proportional to the velocity v there. So it is proportional to the velocity v, and this shift will be in opposite direction if the velocity is in flow is in the opposite direction. Here also the here also we can measure the there difference of frequency by using some technique there. And in that case, I will suggest you to think of how can you measure the difference of the frequency and like this. But you see, it could be a very difficult one, because it may be 1 megahertz signal and the difference may be in the range of 100 hertz. This even measurement is quite difficult, I will tell you like this. So this one we will have to measure it very accurately, and people are doing it, and commercial Doppler type flow meters are also available. So it is non-intrusive type. You don't require anything there, and these are called very I mean, we can measure it in a very nice way, but definitely the cost is more. Electronics hardware costing is more complicated, and those things. Okay. Those who are looking for, okay, it is instrumentation is totally, I mean, no mathematics is that really dull or like this. I can tell you some good mathematical techniques are also used for measurement about the instrumentation applications there. What are they? They are called, basically one example of this one is cross correlation technique. So we can say flow measurement using cross correlation technique. But basically, whatever we have discussed about the measurement, there are more complicated cases where we need to measure it. So basically, where it is there, flow measurement in difficult situations. So flow measurement in difficult situations means where we don't have, mostly in those places we have required mostly liquid flow or a gaseous flow, but it mostly intrusive type. But here, but there are several cases where it is really difficult to find out an effective technique for measurement of flow rate there. What are the things? Basically, measurement, when we want to measure it from a distance. What are the things there? For typical cases are there. Measurement of measurement of flue gas velocity of food, measurement of flue gas velocity coming out of a chimney there. If you if you pass by a beside a thermal power plant, for example, you must be, I think, you must have seen, if you have come to Kharagpur and going to Kolkata there, in Kolaghat there are several thermal power units there, 6 units are there who generate power there. And through the chimneys, big chimneys, very high chimneys, the flue gas, that means the exhaust gas, goes out. And often it is required what is the velocity of the flue gas, so that how good, when we want to have a pollution control there, how far it is moving on like this. So what is the flue gas velocity coming out of it? It is one of the real challenge there. Another case is that measurement of two-phase flow. What is a two-phase flow? Two-phase flow is basically a combination of two phases, that is liquid plus gas, or liquid plus liquid. So liquid plus gas means, okay, some bubble is going on in the area. So it is a flow rate, so liquid plus of gas. It could be uh, liquid plus liquid. In a petroleum there, you want to, extract oil there. So what will coming is that from the bore, what will be coming, a mixture of oil and water. So it is liquid plus liquid there. And even so it is solid plus gas. Often what we require is that some solid is passing, say suppose, uh, often what is called a pneumatic conveying, some leak powder dust is being injected through air or like this. That is called there, solid plus gas or like this. In these cases, you will understand that these things, there are different characteristics, and particularly they will have a different densities there. But if we all go for the normal Venturi tube or orifice tube or other things there, those things we require is what is there? We require a density. But the density here, what is the density? It is not known, because it is a mixture of liquid and gas. It depends upon what we call it a void fraction, how much void is there or how much air is there, and that is an important thing. So often, so suppose we want to have a through a pipeline, I just put it in this way and there is a liquid flow. So I find that this sort of bubbles are there. And I want to measure what is the flow rate. So definitely the flow rate here it is even though you use a venturi or here there, because here what is the average, though it is liquid and this is gas, what is the average density? You don't know. This depends upon the shape or the what we call it a void fraction of this area. So naturally, difficulty is there, and often what we will find that as it moves, the bubble also gets disintegrated or into two or three, or through three bubbles come together form another big problem, big area. Now I want to measure what is the amount of flow rate going through. It is basically a challenging technique there. For this sort, I am just giving few examples because time is short. So here it is few example I will say it. And this is the thing where you use a cross correlation technique there. And that is very useful in this way. Okay. So what is a cross correlation technique? What you can do is that you put, so first of all, I will go for the cross correlation technique afterwards, but I just say it in this way. Say, suppose it is going like this there, and I consider two sections along this path and which are having a length of L like this there. And I put two signals there, I have two sensors there that I call it xt and I call it yt. Two sensors I get it like this. So the sensors could be, in this case for water, there could be many type of sensors. It could be resistive, capacitive, it could be ultrasonic, etc. So suppose the resistive or capacitive means, what we can say is that in this CA you put two electrodes. Of course, for a conductive one, resistive type, we will have to insert inside the pipeline two small electrodes there. So as the and measure the resistance between them, then definitely as the A there, as the uh, uh, between the relative proportion of the gas and liquid there, the resistance between them will be varying. So as a result, if you look at it, there would be, if I just consider a single bubble moving, as the bubble moving, the resistance increases, and after some time, you can say that this will be some signal, we will get it like this. So this is a conductive type electrode. You can fix them outside and measure the capacitance also, because we know liquid water has got a dielectric, I mean epsilon R is 80, other one gas is 1 or like this. There will be a large difference of this one. So we can have some capacitive sensor outside there and we can measure something like this there. Similarly, identical transducer, I can put it in another one, that is Y2. So what we can do is that uh, this XT and YT, these are the two signals I try to record there. Instead of a single A there, if I have a So this is your xt here. And I just see a big bubble, a single bubble is passing at a velocity of v there. So this distance is L. So there is two signals are there, it is xt and this is yt there. And if we look at it and if we both of them, you put them into a CRO or like this, see there. So what will happen with time? We will see that as the bubble passes, there will be a change in voltage or the output, and this is for your xt. But for the case of yt, there is a maybe the sensitivity is different or like this there. So for the case of yt, we will get something, but the bubble will take some time to from cross to this point to this point. Till that time, it will have the same one, but there would be a delay of reaching the bubble at some time there. So this is our yt. So what we can say is that there is a time delay between the two signals received here. So what we can say is that if we know the time, so what is the velocity? Is equal to L divided by T. It is L divided by T here. So what we can say is that this is a nice way for what we call them the tagging signal, this detecting a flow measuring technique without any there, uh, uh, and difficult situation, as for example, as I told, that is a two-phase flow or like this. So we can measure this one, and it could be an open challenge from a distance, all the things are like that. But the problem is that actually the signal xt and yt, as I told, these bubbles are not a single bubble. A lot of bubbles are there. In between, they can also have deformed this one, the signal x and yt, because what will happen that many bubbles can integrate uh, together or they can disintegrate. So as a result, in actual case, you may get it like this, that say suppose like this. And in other case, this is your xt. In other case, the yt, I can get it like this. I can get it like this. We can get do different things there. But from the visually, we can see that this point and this point, these are corresponding. Visually, we can say that observing this one, they may be different, but this point and this point, they will correspond to the same disturbance which we have given it like this. To ensure that one, what we do is that from neither it is not visible from the is apparent from A there. What we can do is that we can ensure and do it, define it, the cross correlation between two signals. It is R of xy tau is equal to limit t tends to infinity 0 to capital T x of t minus tau, and here it is y of t into dt. So what we are doing is that this xt minus tau means I am shifting this one and delaying this xt to this one there, and then multiplying this term there, xt into yt. So you can easily see that if I try to shift it or like this, once I reach here, then the correlate, this multiplication of this one, the correlation will be maximum whenever this shift is actually, okay, I call it delta tau instead of this one, because delta tau there, and it's because this capital T is a large horizon we are doing. So in that case, what will happen is that you will not, because it can be done directly, and if we plot this Rxy tau versus T, or rather Rxy tau versus tau, what we will get, as I have seen, that look at this one, I am shifting it, and once we come to this one, the multiplication of this one, this value will be high. We will get some sort of peaking like this there, and at a value of tau dash, this Rxy tau is maximum. Is maximum. So the point is that less important is what is the value, but important is at what value of tau dash, tau star we get it, for which Rxy tau is maximum. That means exactly, though they are not exactly a replica, but still then you will be able to shift it and see at one point what is the value there. Then we can say that this tau star is the tagging signal there, and so the velocity is given by this, the distance L divided by tau star. So naturally, this is a very useful technique for measurement of this one. So it requires a good amount of hardware as well as the software are like this, but this cross correlation methods are very readily available for this one also. And many of our students have also done work on this area. So I think I don't have much time, so I'll stop here.